This is Braden Mann, walking off the field feeling cheerful and probably in a bit of pain with what he had just done, and this is Webster, walking up the field feeling the opposite of cheerful with what had just happened. You see, the year is 2020, and these two teams are on very different paths. The Rams would end this season 10-7, feeling close to the big break they needed to go win the chip. They would actually go on in the offseason to sell their future for the pieces they felt like they needed to get there, which would be a risky bet, but would pay off as the next season they'd finish a miraculous run to the Super Bowl, only costing them everything like we saw in 2022. And it wasn't a surprise. Like I said, the signs were there even this year that they were really close. Double-digit wins is nothing to scoff at, and both sides of the ball played really well, but they were characterized clearly by their stout defense, led of course by Aaron Donald. Their losses typically didn't come in shootouts except for a big, nail-biting 32-35 loss to the Bills, who we all knew was a top team in this league, and many of their losses came in less than a single touchdown score away, including a game against the Jets where they lose by just 3 points. Let's look back at that Jets team now, shall we? A Jets team who was on their third year with a struggling Sam Darnold, and a Jets team who hadn't had a winning season in 5 years, and a Jets team who most importantly was in the middle of their tank, needing a young replacement for Sam Darnold, who clearly wasn't working out. There was a guy coming out of college who was proclaimed the second coming of Peyton Manning. He had a better arm than Uncle Rico, and he was the golden boy of college football, Trevor Lawrence. And aside from him, everybody else was beyond a speculative pick at this point. Justin Fields and Mac Brown had played for a couple of years and knew that they had some talent, but there were just a lot of questions surrounding them. Then you had Trey Lance and Zach Wilson, who were highly talented but also extremely raw, so nobody knew what to expect from those guys. So teams that wanted that guaranteed premium pick had to go for the premium spot, number 1. The Jets had paid their tank dues up to this point. Coming into the Rams game, they were 0-13, but then they played those Rams hard for 4 quarters, and coming into the fourth, it was a dream and a nightmare combined. The Jets had a 6-point lead, threatening to wipe away that tank they had worked so hard for in a single game, making this year just another paper bag wearing year for Jets fans. But coming into the fourth, the Rams were able to close it up to a 3-point lead with a 42-yard field goal. And then on the ensuing drive, with 5 minutes left in the game, Mann had the opportunity to save the game, to save the tank, most importantly. He comes out into the field and the pump goes up, almost out of bounds, but was able to be fielded. Then everybody played their part real cool. Close calls, almost making tackles, trying to reach out and touch him, but nobody quite gets close until Webster makes a cut and Braden reads it perfectly, diving at his knees and saving the game with a single tackle. The Rams were never able to capitalize on the field position, and the game ends 23-20. And just like that, the tank was over. The number 1 pick went to the Jags, who successfully completed their tank, and retrospectively, Trevor Lawrence has done nothing but improve since he's been in the NFL, while the Jets, on the other hand, ended up picking up Zach Wilson, who never panned out, and have now been forced to trade for Aaron Rodgers, and hope they can get into a championship in the next couple of years like the Bucs and Broncos when they picked up their old quarterbacks. But this one play will always be remembered by Jets fans as why they still don't have their franchise quarterback.
Left reaching for air.